Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Caruso III, and I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. Tonight, as always, I am joined by longtime sports journalist Susan Wade. She writes for Speed Sport, Thoughts Racing, Competition Plus, and Auto Week. Today, we are joined by NOS Energy Drink, World of Outlaws driver Logan Schuchart. And before, I would like to bring up two pictures of Logan when he's racing. One is, let it process. One is Logan right here with one of his wins, one of 30 wins in his career, 22 in the last 3 years. And then the second one,
That was a great picture, by the way, Logan. That was an awesome picture of you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm
Yeah.
definitely happy. You're happy when you win, that's for sure.
and here's another one of Logan racing in the Dryden 1S car. Welcome to the show, Logan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to talk to you.
And you as well, So, welcome to the show. And let's just get started with what's the topic that seems to be on everybody's, minds right now is last night's NASCAR race. I know you're not a NASCAR driver, but last night's NASCAR race on the dirt in Bristol. So, trying to impersonate your World Outlaws guys.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it was a cool deal. I think fans enjoy it. I thought it was a good race. Guys are all moving around the racetrack, and there's a few different lines, and not everybody's going to enjoy it, but I think it was good for the fans, and I think it was pretty enjoyable to watch as a fan. So, um, yeah, I enjoyed it.
You and the World of Outlaws will be at the same track in just a few days. On April 28th, 29th, and 30th of this month, you guys will be competing at the same track at Bristol. It'll be your series' second time at Bristol racing on the dirt. How do you guys like this venue or the course that they have set up on this dirt?
I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. Last year, being the first year for it, it's definitely a big, fast track and high banked. Um, it was kind of more one lane. The racing wasn't as good. You saw that kind of across all venues last year, with whether it was the late models or the NASCAR, the stock cars. Um, but it looked like yesterday, like I said, there was the racing was a little better. They were moving around the racetrack, and so I'm hoping it's that way for us. For us, we're going to be the fastest cars that go around that place, and it has to be slow and slick and wide to be a good race for our cars. So I'm hoping for that. Um, I know they're trying to make it bigger and better, and with the pay, and I know fans are. You're going to have more fans there. You're not going to have a limited crowd this year, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope they let as many fans come as they want to come. So, um, but it's definitely a big, fast racetrack, and we'll be more prepared for it this year. We were fast last year. We kind of started mid pack on the Friday night show, I believe, last year, kind of up to seventh, and then we had some mechanical failures. Like I said, I hope we're a little more prepared that way. But then the second day, um, we actually led until one lap to go, and broke a crank and blew up on the last lap and had a DNF. So, but we were fast, we're right there racing up front. So it does make me look forward to going back. So hopefully we can pick up a big win at a premier facility.
Does racing on that venue make it more difficult for you, being that you have the asphalt underneath it and not straight dirt like a normal facility?
It doesn't really change for us. I'm sure it does for the people who prepare the racetrack. And how you prepare it. It's not something that I have a lot of experience in. Um, I've I've been to different racetracks where there's asphalt underneath the clay or dirt, and the way they prepare it, if there is a lot of rain, or just the moisture kind of sits underneath of it and kind of causes problems, in the experience that I've had, or the racetracks that I've been to. So hopefully that's not the case. But as far as how we prepare the race cars, if there's asphalt underneath the dirt or not, we don't really prepare them any differently. It's just kind of the conditions of the dirt, what we're seeing as we go out in the racetrack and what we feel, and we kind of adapt accordingly.
In Pennsylvania, they have a group called the Pennsylvania Posse. However, you're from Pennsylvania, Hanover, Pennsylvania. However, you are not part of the Pennsylvania Posse. Could you talk about the posse and the outlaw shows with the posse, and how does the Pennsylvania outlaw driver become a member of the posse?
Well, I grew up there. I grew up in Central PA, kind of right next to Lincoln Speedway, or very close to it. So, earlier on in my career, I was considered, PA posse. Like I said, that's where I grew up. So, I come from PA roots, and I think a lot of fans, kind of still take us in. They enjoy watching us, have success as a Pennsylvania racer, a Pennsylvania team. So, when it comes down to it, I think they're still rooting for us. They want to see the hometown guys that are still local. They want them to win whenever, the Outlaws come to town. But I'd say, if they're going to have a second favorite or second choice, they would rather us win than any other Outlaw. So, that makes, like I said, we still have a big fan base when we come home. A lot of people that support us, and we haven't won a race in Central PA. We won at Port Royal, so pretty close. A lot of same fans, same crowd up that way. But when I think of Central PA and my hometown tracks, it's more Lincoln or the Williams Grove area. So hoping we can in 2022 we can get a win back there, and I know it'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty special to me and my family and team and our fans back there to be able to get a win.
Yeah, those fans in Pennsylvania are pretty passionate about their World of Outlaws. I think more than probably maybe anywhere else in the country. I would say, wouldn't you?
There's a lot of passionate fans across the country, but Pennsylvania definitely is in a category of their own, and definitely very passionate about sprint car racing for sure.
Well, yeah, we talk about the Pennsylvania posse, but I think back in the day, your grandpa had his own little gang, the Hanover gang, right? So, didn't he?
He did. He kind of came up from uh, Miami and Florida in the later, or I'd say the earlier mid '60s, and started racing in Pennsylvania, and it was part of the PA posse. Or he was kind of his own outlaw. Traveled, but being central based, central PA based, and kind of traveled, did his own kind of outlaw schedule. He's a reason, one of the reasons the Outlaws got started, and he had a lot to do with it and the way he did things. So. Um, but yeah, definitely he's known for being in that area.
Yeah, and he's probably the biggest influence on your racing career, I would assume, ever. So, and we're talking about your grandpa is the great Bobby Allen, who's won at Knoxville. Heck, he was born in Daytona. He has to be a cool racer, right? So, but he's been inducted into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, and of course he runs your Shark Racing outfit. So tell everybody a little bit about him. And he's 79, I think, right? Going
Yeah,
strong.
I think he's 78 now, but you might be right. I might be wrong on that, but I think he's 78. But he, yeah, very involved in our race team. He has a lot to do with, he's the owner of the team, so very much involved. And as far as, he likes to have a lot to do with engines and building, designing engines with Michael Newman. Um, but just being involved overall with, helping Jacob and I with setups and just, the whole race team in general, how to run our cars, and um, involved with sponsors and what we're gonna do and how we build our cars. So, but yeah, he's always been my mentor. My idol as far as racing goes, and he's a reason I wanted to be a race car driver. When I was a young kid, seeing his race car at the shop, and he stopped racing when I was I was fairly young, so I was probably only 4 or 5 years old when he stopped racing. But I remember the race cars being around, and even once he did stop racing, there's still race car parts, and he owned the go kart track right down the road, or right down the road from his shop, and so that's where I started racing as a kid, and what got helped me have my love for the sport and why I wanted to be a race car driver. So, um, definitely, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got involved at all in racing, and I wouldn't have grown that love for racing in general and sprint car racing.
And you got his car number too, correct?
So Jacob runs a 1A,
Okay.
and I run the 1S, which is my last name, Schuchart. So that's kind of where that came from. And back when my grandfather raced, he raced for Emirates Chevrolet, and there was two cars. Um, he was the second car, and so they put the letter on his car, and it was a 1A. So um, that's kind of how he got his. And when he ran his own team, he just kind of carried that over.
Okay.
Speaking of Jacob, Jacob is your uncle, and shark racing is a family affair. We talked about your grandfather. We talked about Jacob. We talked about, I guess, Bill, who's your stepdad now. Bill Klingbill, who's, I guess, your team publicist, who also works for Dryden. What are like the dynamics of the race team there when you guys race? Could you talk more about that for the people that don't know?
Sure. I mean, it's a family operation. We've kind of grown it since when I first started racing. I'm 29 now. When I was about 16, we got our first sprint car together in a limited sprint car in Pennsylvania. Just kind of built it up from there, and got Jacob a car. And without people like Bill and longtime sponsors have been here for a long time, we wouldn't have been able to be out here at all or race a 410 even in Pennsylvania. And then went out on the road with the help of people like Marty Thompson and Mark Pell, who is still involved, and with people like Bill coming along and helping um, attract sponsors like Dryden and Relodyne, Duramax, NGK, C&D Rigging, everybody that's a part of this team. So it's really grown since I was 16 years old, and being on the Outlaw Tour for 9 years now. So we got a lot of great people that help us out. Bill has a lot to do with the PR side of things, and just kind of help manage everything with my grandfather, like I mentioned earlier. And um, we we have two teams with Jacob, like you said, and four crew guys. Ron Helmick, Ben Whitman helped me on my car. Ron's kind of I'd call him more like the car chief. Most teams have a crew chief, a car chief, and tire guy, a truck driver, different jobs in there. It might vary between different teams, but Ron Helmick's kind of my car chief, and he'll help drive the truck sometime. Ben Whitman does tires, kind of helps with the car, drives a truck. He's a truck mechanic, and then we have Tyler Garber and Jack Eckert on Jacob's car, and like I said, my grandfather helps us both in there, and Bill has his places. My mom and Summer sell T-shirts, along with Jacob's girlfriend Hannah sells his T-shirts. So it's definitely a family operation. Michael Newman's my cousin, builds our engines back home. So not many teams, especially on this level, in the World of Outlaws, have a team like ours. It's such a fair family operation.
Speaking of the world of outlaws, it is probably the most exhaustive sport of all, not just in motorsports. How do you pace yourself in the course of a season when there's like 100 races that you have to do from February through November?
Right now it doesn't feel very exhausting at all. We've been out here on the road, traveled from California, and we've only raced once a week for the last 3 weeks. So it's been actually the opposite of exhausting. We're kind of just ready to get racing. I wish there was 3, 4 races a week. So kind of stuck out here in Illinois right now. We race on Friday here, Granite City right up the road, and then Hobstock, Indiana on Saturday. So I'm hoping, the weather's been tough on us, but definitely the traveling, once their schedule does get going, summertime, early fall, getting into September and October. We're traveling a lot. We're not racing as much, but it's a lot of time on the road, a lot of time away from family, and that's definitely tough. You miss a lot of, uh, on this level, you miss a lot of important family things that are happening and that you can't be a part of. So that really, that gets to you after a while, but it's, they understand. I have a very supportive family that knows this was my dream and what I always wanted to do. And, the crew guys have the same thing. It's, it's tough on them. They don't get to have much time at home. You're living out of hotels and that kind of thing. So it's a love-hate relationship. It's a dream. It's an adventure for a lot of people that want to do it. But it's also, it has a lot of, it has pros and cons to it. So it's I enjoy it. It's always been my dream, and I'm very fortunate to be able to be out here on the road.
Yeah. Now, Steve Kinzer's son is Craig, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Years ago, I covered several outlaw races. It's been a while, but he was telling me, Craig was saying that he was talking about that very thing, that his dad never got to be at home and watch his basketball games and things like that. And he said, and he finally got to one basketball game, and he said, I was out there playing, and I was so proud that my dad was in the stands, and I made a basket for the other team. So that was embarrassing. But the one chance I had to have my dad with me, there's a lot of, sometimes there's probably pressure on the families at home to make it a great time when you are there, too. So, but yeah, you're coming up on an anniversary. 10 years ago, you were the National Sprint Car Rookie of the Year. So congratulations on that, even 10 years later here. But in those 10 years, what strides do you think you've made as a driver?
Um, I mean, definitely in all aspects, I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about, um, just more of the professional level with being out here at the World of Outlaws. Just being on the road, the traveling scene. What it takes to be out here. Sponsors and getting rigs up and down the road. Working on the race cars. What it takes to be fast and how these cars work. And um, back then I just kind of knew how to, help put them. I had a couple crew guys. I would show up to the shop every week and we'd, take it apart and put it back together. But I didn't really know, what did what or why and that kind of thing. So, just a lot of experience through the years. I think I've grown a lot that way. I've grown as a driver. Being in these different racetracks and just traveling and just getting a lot of experience, really.
We see Casey Kane and Brad Sweet coming back to the Outlaws after getting a look in NASCAR. What does that say for your series?
Yeah, I always wanted to be raced with the World of Outlaws. I always thought sprint cars were, the most cool thing. They were the most, wild, exciting form of racing. I'm a fan of all types of racing, but I just think dirt track sprint cars are some of the coolest form of racing there is. And in my time of being out on the road, I've been out here for 9 years. Um, the World of Outlaw series has grown tremendously. You can see it in our purses. How much they're paying to win. As far as dirt vision goes, how many fans are at the racetrack. Stands are packed everywhere we go. So many people that come up after the races. Tell me it's their first time at a sprint car race. They love it. They're definitely coming back, and I feel like I hear that more and more as time goes on. Maybe not as much when I first started, but in the last couple of years, I've heard that a lot. If I don't hear it at least one time a night at each racetrack, I'll be pretty surprised. So that's a good feeling, especially with something that you've been a part of for so long, and you have so much, um, love for the sport that it keeps growing, and you see it, you it's going to keep growing and keep getting at a bigger level. That's what you want, and it's great to be a part of it.
And do you have any ambitions? I think earlier on you had mentioned a couple of times, like earlier in past years, about maybe looking at doing something else. But do you see yourself staying here? You love it so much, or do you want to try something new sometime?
This has always been my dream to be right here, and there's a lot of goals and accomplishments that I want to have before I would ever go anywhere or try anything else, anyways. Um, and a lot of them I haven't come close or even or haven't done yet. I don't want to say I haven't come close. I've come close to them, but there's a lot of goals and accomplishments that I want to have as far as a World of Outlaws sprint car driver before I would even consider it or think of it. And in a lot of different series, I'm an old man, so I don't know if they'd want me anymore, but. Um, I just love racing. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to be able to be out here and do this. So I hope I can do it for a long time.
You've been racing since you were 2 years old and competitively since you were in like third or fourth grade. You, you're in your late 20s now. Does sprint car racing ever get old to you?
No, not at all. I still get the same feeling when I start that car up or when I'm getting ready to go out for a main as I did the first time I did it. Maybe the butterflies aren't so high. I have a little bit more confidence and in what I'm doing and where I'm at. So it's the butterflies might not be as much, but as far as the excitement and the that little kid that wanted to do this so bad, he's still there and very, like I said, very fortunate to be able to do it and definitely the drive and competitiveness, the will and want to win is higher than it's ever been. So definitely the same guy as that 8-year old that wanted to be at this level one day.
You've had 22 victories in the past 3 years of your 30 wins so far. You're still looking for your first win this season. What does it take to win an outlaw race? And what has to come together for you to win one when there's so many different things that have to together for you to win?
Yeah, you just you hate to use the word perfect, but you have to be almost perfect every time you hit the racetrack. You got to qualify good. You can't have any mistakes in your heat race. You got to finish in the top two to be in the dash, and then just put yourself in a good spot for the feature. Start in the you know top few rows is what it takes to win an outlaw race. We've won races from further back in the field, but it's very very tough to do. The cars are so even, the drivers and teams are so good nowadays. There's just not many mistakes made, and you have to capitalize on getting good starting spots and just be good every time you hit the racetrack. So you're not always going to draw a good pill, to go out for qualifying. You might be in a little bit of a disadvantage as far as that goes, but you have to take the cards that are thrown at you and get the best qualifying spot you can get, race good in your heat race, start up front, and that's how you get wins. So we're a little slow to start out this year. There's some racetracks that we haven't been for a few years. COVID kept us from the West Coast for 2 years, and uh, we had really good years in those 2 years. So it's not, just went back to some racetracks that I didn't have a very good notebook for. I didn't have a whole lot of experience or, good runs to fall back on to kind of look at a notebook and help me out. I kind of felt like I was starting from scratch. And if we did end up getting to where we were kind of in the ballpark, it was almost too late. Like it was feature time and we had to play catch up and come from the back. And like I said, just got the cars are too good. The racers are too good to be able to do that. We could pass cars, and we had a few hard chargers in there where we, had the best plus minus, passed the most cars. But if you want to race for a championship, you want to race for wins, you can't do that to yourself. So fortunately, we've in the last few weeks, we've been a lot better. We've been racing in the top five, racing for wins. And, like I said, we just haven't raced much lately. So I'm looking forward to get back in a rhythm of thing, racing 2-3 times a week that we can hopefully pick off a few wins there and get back to our normal self.
Before Susan goes to this question, I would like to follow up on something you just said. You said that there's data for tracks that you go to that you're familiar with that you're able to go to from previous years. and you haven't been able to go to much data on these tracks that you haven't been to in the past 2 years because of the COVID pandemic. How do you is it on a computer? Do you have it in a notebook? How do you keep track of that data to help you as a driver? Since you said you guys don't really have a crew chief to help you with things that you can talk to about.
Well, we write it down, and I talk with my guys. Kind of considered the crew chief on my car. I set the car up, but our team's a little different. I don't do all the things like a crew chief does. Ron uh, does a lot of those jobs. Ben does some of those jobs. So we're a 3-man team instead of a 4-man team, and we make it work. And our deal's just a little bit different, but we talk it over and we figure it out. And I wouldn't trade my guys for anybody else in the pit area. So I think we do a great job working together. But I write it down in a notebook, and um, you can use it as a starting point. It's not good always to go right off of your notes and just sit in a notebook and go off the track conditions and all right, this is what we did last year, so let's do this again. Kind of give yourself a starting point, but also go off of what you feel on the racetrack and kind of adjust accordingly, and not just stick your nose in that notebook and go off of that.
Is that what pretty much everybody, your colleagues do as well, or there's some who really stick to computerized stuff, or stick to those? Or are you? Is your team pretty typical? Your approach pretty typical?
Yeah, they have their notebooks that they try to stay organized and write their own. Ron, like I said, he's the car chief, so he writes down how many races each part was run on the car, and when we need to replace it, and how many races it has until it needs to be taken out of the car and have something new put in. So that way, like I said, we've been out here for 9 years, so we've kind of known how long something can be ran until it has a high possibility of breaking. And so he does a great job at that. Ben writes down all the tire stuff, what we ran last year, what the conditions of the tires were, and the conditions of the racetrack, and how we grooved it and how we siped it, and what it looked like afterwards, how we could be a little bit better that way. So those guys do a great job. And um, but we do keep it on a computer. Some of my stuff's on a computer, but I write it down in the notebook because I don't trust computers. They break and they quit work. So I shouldn't write it down with a pen. Works better. It's not going anywhere.
I like that, and I agree with you. We've had technical glitches on this show alone, but
Yes,
it's
we have
you're right. It's typical of just computerized stuff, So
technology.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly. Yeah, technology is great when it works, right?
It is. It makes it a lot easier. It can make things a lot more difficult too.
Exactly. There's more, just more, but it's more stuff to learn, but it's the way of the world, I guess. But you said something else earlier that was kind of intriguing, is that you said, oh, you're not even 30 years old. Come on, and you said you thought maybe another series would regard you as old, and you're a kid,
No.
but Mike Price, and the motorsports editor at Auto Week, just came out with a story about, I think there were 7 auto racing greats who stayed around too long, and motorsports seems to actually be a place where you can be a little older, and it's not a pejorative. It's not a knock on you to be older, because you're considered the sage or the dean of whatever form of motorsports it is. So what is it about motorsports where you can do that? Baseball, hockey, basketball, you would be washed up at 30, 35 or whatever. But we got guys racing into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and drag racing, we had a guy who was 90 something racing, so till last year. So what is it about motorsports that allows people to do that?
Yeah, that's definitely getting up there in age. That's pretty wild. But I'd say sprint car racing definitely. A lot of forms of sports. That level of your physical ability and your mental ability to kind of where they overlap, and your physical ability starts to go down. but you still have that mental ability when you're older. Guys like Steve Kinzer, that's why they're able to race for so long, still able to race. That mental ability to race, and I feel like that's why guys, race car drivers in their 30s seem to be the best. As far as like a football player or something, their mid 20s because they're physical ability. But race car drivers, as long as they're not crashing and they're not taking these hits to the head and beating their body up, they can race usually, and be very competitive at least into their 50s. I feel like, but um, I feel like usually a lot of race car drivers are at their peak when they're in their mid 30s. It seems like, anyways. But it seems like you can do it for a long time.
Is there a push in? Yeah, because when I covered it, we had Sammy Swindell, there was Steve Kinzer. They were not spring chickens, but they were still great and at the top of their game. But is there a push in World Outlaws? Just talk that we got to get younger guys, really young kids, 18, 19, in that age. You know, is
I
there a
don't think
push?
any of them are that young in the
What's
series.
that?
I don't think any of them are that young in the series.
No, I mean to attract new fans and a younger fan base. Is there any talk about that in World Outlaws?
I think whoever comes along with the right deal, or they have the right sponsors or people who want to back them, they're going to race, as long as, it doesn't matter really what age they are. They can't be too young, but if they're really talented, they're really good, they're going to race with us. And you see, Gio Selzy won an outlaw race when he was 16 years old. So, you have the right people backing you, good crew chiefs, and you're a talented race car driver. They're gonna race with us. But as time goes on, the race cars have more power. You know, we race with so much momentum now. I think it's gonna draw to more of a younger crowd. It's gonna be harder for guys to race when they're older, just because of reaction times and stuff like that. It's uh, things are happening fast, and I'd say that's like I said, part of that physical side that I was talking about. I try and keep myself in the best physical shape that I can. Tracks like we just ran um, last week, I-55 was very rough, and pulling the car around, yanking the wheel out of your hands and stuff like that. So you got to be in physical shape for that, but also your reaction time's got to be good. So definitely that caters to the younger guys, but also you got to have that level of mental ability to kind of make the right decisions at the right time, not push the car too hard and putting yourself in bad spots, and maybe crash it, and maybe hold off for one corner and make a move in the next corner. That's stuff that kids don't always make that decision. You kind of learn as you get a little older.
There's so many factors that are around age, and there's a couple of different things I wanted to ask you about. Sorry, Anthony, I'm just babbling here, but in drag racing, they have a Christmas tree and they have practice trees to check their reaction times. What would, if you wanted to like improve your reaction time to something, what do you have? You don't use Christmas trees, so what do you have?
So recently I went to the sporting goods store, and I watched hockey players or hockey goalies. They take tennis balls and they throw them against the wall, and
Oh,
I've been trying to do that a little bit. But we have iRacing. You get on the computer, you can kind of practice on there. Um, like I said, I just try to stay physically active. Do different sports, and um, try and get outside and do things as possible when we're not racing. When we're not working on the cars. Whatever I can do that I feel like it's going to keep me mentally sharp, and keep all the reaction times good.
that's
You were
good.
on a hike recently with your girlfriend and a few others I saw.
Yeah, like I said, we try and do whatever. Like I said, I doing different physical activities. I've done a little bit of boxing over the winter time, not going against anybody, just the training wise, and so that's good for reaction time. But we got to go when we were on the West Coast. We had some time off, and myself, Summer, my girlfriend, a few others, we got to hike up Yosemite National Park. And of all the times that I've been the West Coast. I've never got to go there, so that was very neat. And I definitely like to go back again and go up some different trails. And we definitely really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's so cool. But then, yeah, you come from Hanover, Pennsylvania, so that's the snack capital of the world. So you gotta be extra vigilant there, right?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely have to stay in shape if you're trying anything that place has to offer. That's for sure. I don't eat too much that stuff, but it's hard when you're living in that area.
Yeah, no, I bet that's true. So, but go ahead, Anthony. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to ask him what his favorite snack is. If I'm
Well, I was, but
keeping,
you said you try to stay away from it, so I didn't want to tempt you there. You got a favorite snack though from Hanover?
Oh, you gotta go with grandma's chocolate chip cookies. I'm not snack food capital of the world might be, but you can't beat grandma's cookies.
Logan, you're from Pennsylvania. Last year, um, every year, when you do race, you have an event here in New Jersey, and it used to be at New Age Speedway. Now it's at Bridgeport Speedway, and last year you actually won it. Does that still kind of like count as like a close to home win, even though you're from Pennsylvania, or since it's several hours away, it doesn't really count in your eyes as being like a close to home win?
Well, I mean, it's close enough. We have a lot of the same fans. It's kind of like when we went to Port Royal and we went up there. We have a lot of the same fans that are going to be at Williams Grove and Lincoln. They're coming to Bridgeport to watch us race. So that's definitely a great win for us. Just a week before at Williams Grove, we had a really bad crash, destroyed a race car. Um, you know, like I said, it was a pretty bad crash. So it was nice to kind of rebound from that and go to Bridgeport and win there. It's an awesome facility. We really look forward to going there as a first time at the new track, and they've done an awesome job with that place with, high bank. I think it's great for fans. It was a lot of fun to race there. So I definitely look forward to going back. You always do when you win, but I think it was a lot of fun. I think the fans enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to going back.
Yeah, and Anthony's in New Jersey. I'm on the other coast. I'm out here by
Yes,
Skagit Speedway and what's the other one? Grays Harbor County.
he's out
All
by
right.
Seattle, Logan.
Yeah,
Yep. We
yeah.
won it.
So
I know
where do you go? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we won at both of those racetracks. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been there, but they're great, especially Skagit. I just love Skagit. That's a great racetrack. And the the guy who built it up to what it is today, I think he doesn't own it anymore, is Steve Beitler, who was a World of Outlaws guy, right? So what a
Yeah.
perfect person to build the track, right? Do you know Steve?
Yep, I've met him a few times. He's a nice guy. He's done a lot for sprint car racing. So, yeah, I believe he just sold it this past year. So, um, but yeah, I always enjoy going up to the Northwest. And like I said, we've been fortunate enough to win a few races at Skagit. We actually swept a weekend the one year, and then we won the last race at Elma. So, no, I look forward to going back. They're good tracks to us.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, a few years ago, or last year, I think it was, you did have a former World of Outlaws driver go into ownership of a track. Shane Stewart, I think it was, right?
Mm,
He owns a racetrack in Oklahoma. I think it's called Port City.
Yes.
that's interesting. Well, Steve. I mean, Steve did it as well. Yeah, but I love Steve's. It was the Steve stories of Fred Brown. Fred, I think it was Fred Brownfield's stories. The late Fred. Did you know Fred?
I didn't know Fred.
You didn't know Fred? Oh, he had he had great. No, I don't know. Don't remember if it was Fred or Steve. I think it was Steve. Steve got injured in Indiana somewhere in Indiana, and he said he was like laid up for quite a while. And he said people were just so nice. The fans just sent him. One guy gave him a ham. A ham. I don't know what you do with that when you're in a hospital or whatever, but people just are so nice. They're the nicest fans. They're very they adopt you practically, and when you come to their area, right?
Sure, that's one of the coolest things about racing the World of Outlaws and traveling and seeing all the fans, and especially if you only go to one spot once a year, seeing those fans that you only get to see once a year. And we've definitely built a lot of special relationships and met a lot of people over the years that I always look forward to coming back to and seeing and being able to hang out with them again.
And the fans can come to the pits and everything, right? So
Yep.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, we've for a while now, and it's that definitely makes it.
Even when they're your crew people are like rubbing the tire, getting the stuff off the tires, and you can walk up and see that as well.
Yeah, they can walk through all parts of the night. Definitely after the races is best time. Come in, kind of hang out and talk to us. But they can come in, check out the race car, see what we have going on at any time of the night.
yeah, I think that's probably why everybody says, "Wow, I can get close to a driver." I know in NASCAR, when I covered a few NASCAR races as well, and at Phoenix, I went in. The first person I saw was it was a gentleman dressed from head to toe with Dale Earnhardt Jr. gear, his hat, his shoes, his shoes, everything in between, shirt, pants, everything had Dale Earnhardt all over it. And I said to him, I said I couldn't help but notice you're such a Dale Earnhardt fan. Have you ever met him and spoken with him? And he said, no. Like, why would you ask me that? You can't get close to those NASCAR races. Nothing wrong. It's just that's their culture. It's a different culture. But in drag racing, you can go do that, and in Outlaws, you can go do that. And I think that's what makes a huge fan experience. I think.
Sure, especially with us, you have families come up after the race. Little kids that get to either sit in the car or check out the race cars after the race, and definitely if it's their first time there, they're going to be a fan for life. So I always enjoy when we have fans come up after the races, and I know we always hang out for a while. Enjoy hanging out with fans and talking to them and seeing how they enjoyed the show. And like I said, I have many of them saying that it's their first race and they can't wait to come back again. And they might have been a fan of a different series and or a different type of car, but that was their first time at a sprint car race, and they just absolutely love it. So definitely makes you feel good as a driver and a series that you have a lot of passion for.
Yeah. What's the most interesting thing that a fan has ever given you? Anything weird or anything funny or anything offbeat that a fan has gifted you?
Said about him, I had a fan when we go home, he gives me chocolate milk, and the first time, every time he gives me like a gallon jug of chocolate milk. The first, why is he giving me chocolate milk? But now I look forward to it. I'm like, man, I hope he's bringing that chocolate milk because it's good. Like I love it.
Well, why did you ever ask him like white chocolate milk or?
I feel like it did, and I forget his answer, but he does. He brings it for. It's not just myself. He brings it for different drivers. But definitely something I look forward to. It's different the first time he gave it to me, but like I said, he gives it to different drivers, and I look forward to it.
Now, do
Well,
you drink it before the race?
yeah.
Now
Before,
it's after the race. I do drink it then, but no, not before the race.
well, you don't pour it over your head like the guys at Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Eh,
Is that what you were wondering, Anthony?
Yeah. I was wondering if he was gonna drink it and do one of those celebration things with it.
Well, does anybody bring you champagne so you can spray it on everybody or yourself or whatever?
We have done that. I don't think over here in the States. I won a race in Australia. I raced for John Weatherall for a few years, John and Vicky Weatherall, and uh, we won a big race over there, and they gave me champagne. And as well, I guess I wasn't that much of a kid. I was in my mid-20s, but I never really drank champagne. I didn't know how to open the bottles, but I figured it out and open it up, spray it all around. But yeah, they give champagne over there.
You know who started that spraying champagne?
No.
My favorite, Dan Gurney.
Oh,
He
man.
Yeah, he started it at I think it was at Spa when he won some. I don't know if it was the first time anybody handed anybody champagne, but he just started spraying it on the people by the podium, and who I don't know if it was fans or well, reporters, whatever. So, but yeah, he started that. So that was a Dan Gurney thing. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Logan, you raced at several marquee events throughout the year. One is in February with where you can win a gator, which you have won last year. You have Eldora, and you also have the Knoxville Nationals. Could you talk about racing in these marquee events that you have on your schedule? I know a few years ago, what was it, 2018, 2019, you finished second, I believe it was, to David Gravel when he won the championship, or that championship, but the Knoxville Nationals. What's it like for you as a driver to compete in these marquee events you have on your schedule?
Yeah, we actually finished second in the Kings Royal that year too. And so we're very, that's what I said kind of earlier. We're very close to winning two crown jewels that year. But definitely something you look forward to as a driver, especially when you've run good there in the past. We won races at both racetracks. Um, you know, Jackson Nationals is trying to become a crown jewel in our sport. We've won that the last 2 years. So, um, but I was like, definitely nothing bigger than the Knoxville Nationals and the Kings Royal, and Eldora is actually bringing back the historical big one this year. So that hasn't been around since I've been racing. But so like I said, the sport's growing. It's awesome to have these big paying races. We're having another big event like that. So it'd be a chance at maybe taking home some money there in a big race, and you have the Williams Grove National Open. So definitely big events throughout the whole season that you look forward to, and kind of career defining moments that you want to win. And yeah.
On the
yeah,
tour, you face several different drivers, and a lot of one very prominent name that you face is Donnie Schatz that you get to go against every time you race. Is there a driver that you compete with today that as a young boy you were like, I want to compete against this guy?
Sure, Donnie's one of them. He was around when I was a kid, and he started getting really dominant, as I started to get a little older before I still started racing. So he's one of the most well-known names. Not many of those guys when I was a kid are still out here. Jason Sides has been racing for a long time. When I first started, my very first year in the Outlaws was Steve Kinser's last year. So that was really cool to be able to race a season with him. Sammy was out here, off and on. So, a lot of respect for all those guys. They made our sport what it is. Donnie's had a lot of success. He's a very good race car driver. He's a very smart race car driver. So, um, to kind of see how he does things. And he's, like I said, he's definitely a very smart racer, and he's had a lot of success. So it's cool to be able to race with him, and we are able to beat him. It makes you feel good.
Early in the year, outside of your schedule, they have a very popular event in Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Chili Bowl Nationals. Have you been able to compete in it? If not, would you like to compete in it one day?
I have not been able to compete in it. I would like to compete in it. I've never raced a midget. I'd like to get in one somewhere else first. You don't get a whole lot of laps before you're out there racing, and it's pretty, um, you know, fast paced, and you definitely, it seems like you got to wheel them. So I'd like to get in one somewhere else first, but I'd like to race the Chili Bowl. It looks like it's pretty cool.
yeah. I
What
think
would be the difference between the two cars? The one that you drive today and one of those midget cars?
What's the difference in them?
Yes.
With midget's just a lot smaller. It has, it's a 4-cylinder engine instead of 8-cylinder engine. There's no wings. It's just a lot smaller car. So you just, from what I'm told, you just kind of manhandle them a little more. And like I said, I've never raced one, so I can't tell you a whole lot of what they race like. I'd like to get in one to kind of feel it, but they look like fun. They look like they race really cool. They put on great races. The Chili Bowl is always, a very fun race to watch. So look forward to getting in one day.
It's cute that you said that because back 150 years ago, when I remember it was always that was the progression was you started quarter midgets and then sprint cars and then whatever else you want to do after that, but that was the stepping stone to open wheel to champ cars to Indy cars, people call them now, but or NASCAR if that's what you prefer, but there was a stepping stone. Now it seems like, and you race karts, but karts seems to be the big thing now, where kids get in those first instead of in quarter midgets and midgets, and there used to be a progression, and so a lot of people did drive the midgets, but you got people at the Chili Bowl who come from different disciplines of motorsports, and I don't know how much they know how to drive a midget either, but they do it. Makes it interesting.
Yeah, they get to do it for the Chili Bowl. You see a lot of people from different backgrounds, different disciplines are racing to do the Chili Bowl, and I think that's why it makes it as big as what it is. It's the one place you can get all those people in one spot. So fans like to see that. Drivers like to do it. As you know a series that races every week. As far as midgets go, it is a pretty young crowd. You have a lot of kids, with um, your money backing them, people that are supporting them, trying to get them to that next level. That's what it seems like, on a weekly basis. But the Chili Bowls, all different ages, people from different backgrounds and different disciplines. So that's why I feel like it is as big as an event as it is.
What do you think of the SRX? Did you follow that at all last summer? They're coming back pretty soon for another round of it, but I thought it was pretty fun. Kind of an IROC sort of a thing, but
Yeah, I kind of watched a little bit. I didn't pay attention a whole lot, I'll be honest.
well, you're probably busy. You're probably racing yourself.
Yeah, that's why it's tough. I'm a fan of different sports. I like to watch sports, but a lot of it has to do, what's going on while we're racing. So that makes it tough to kind of pay attention and watch it.
Yeah, I wondered if you hung out with anybody from any other discipline, maybe did a ride swap or anything like that with somebody. And if you haven't, who was there somebody you'd like to do a ride swap with?
Team Dryden has talked about putting in a late model or something like that. They sponsored Ricky Weiss and Chris Madden and Scott Bloomquist. So I was never at the late models until Dryden started sponsoring them. And, Dryden had introduced us to all those guys, and we were able to watch them in a few races. And, I pay attention to them a lot more now than what I ever did before, just, rooting them on and like to see them do good. So I think it'd be cool to get in a late model at one time. You see guys like Kyle Larson who gets in them and really well, but definitely a whole different animal. I feel like I could get in a midget, be successful way quicker than what I would in a late model, but I'd love to get in one and try it out for sure.
You never know. You might not be as bad at it off the bat as you think you might be. So, you know. And Kyle Larson, dang, he gets in everything and drives everything, doesn't he? So
He does.
there's some people like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is, if he's made a point to be that versatile, or it just is a natural. Is he a natural? I'm thinking he may be a natural at anything, but
Sure. Yeah, anything he gets in, he's good. He's no doubt. You can tell he's one of the most talented race car drivers there are, of maybe all time. There's people that they can compare him to, but I don't know anybody that's done what he's done and kind of won in all these different disciplines and won the biggest races there are in each discipline. So he's definitely in a class of his own.
and that
Well,
doesn't appeal to you. I mean, that's not something that you're dying to be.
I would like to, if I could have that success. Like I said, I want to win some of the biggest races in sprint car racing. And if I was, given the opportunity to race something else and get in one of those cars and have the opportunity to win big races in different disciplines, sure, I would do that. But I got to win the biggest races in sprint car racing first.
Susan was talking about Kyle Larson. You have another very versatile driver, Christopher Bell, who's actually going to be here at Bridgeport Speedway next Wednesday, racing in a sprint car. he's very versatile. He got NASCAR, and then he does sprint cars as well when he's not racing in NASCAR. He's like all these different sprint car events. He's very versatile as well.
Yeah, he is. I haven't got to race with Chris Bell too much, a whole lot in the last few years, I feel like. But yeah, he's definitely very good and, very successful, won a lot of races, and seems to be good in everything he gets in also.
No, we
Susan,
had. Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
In drag racing, we have Doug Coletta, and Doug was the oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was in the 90s, 94, I think. Uh, National Sprint Car Champion. Dirt
Mm.
was a sprint or dirt. I can't remember now. I should remember that. But and he has his family heritage was in drag racing, so it probably wasn't a huge deal for him to make that move. But that's a huge move. I mean, that for anybody else, that would be a massive move to go drag racing because it's on from dirt racing to pavement to straight line as opposed to turning. I think that's a pretty cool story that he took on something so wildly different from what he had made a mark in. You don't see that very much, do you?
No, you don't. That's pretty wild and pretty cool that somebody did that and they're able to be successful. It doesn't. I wouldn't think a whole lot would. You could use a whole lot of what you learned in one series compared to the next. So it's. I mean, they're race cars, but totally different animal. So that's pretty cool. He had that success.
Yeah, and not only did he have the success on dirt, he's zooming up on his 50th. His next victory in Top Fuel will be his 50th. So that's pretty good to excel, not just to do it, but to excel at that. So
Wow.
go ahead, Anthony. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you didn't have any more questions, I was going to uh, close the show. That's why I was gonna ask you if you had any more questions for him, for Logan.
I don't. We get to gabbing and we never hold to our hour, and we're trying to crack down on ourselves because we can be here all night talking to you guys. So anyway, I apologize for being gabby. Go ahead, Anthony. But we're so happy you were here, Logan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice to talk to you all.
Thanks for joining us again, Logan. Good luck to the rest of the season. Outside of being on Facebook Live right now and YouTube Live right now, this broadcast will be uploaded on Rumble and BitChute in the next few days and converted into a podcast for Anchor.fm as well in the next few days. Thanks again for joining us tonight, Logan, and good luck on the rest of your season. Yeah, what's it, 14 races so far, but you still have plenty more to go on the 2022 season that you're embarking on so far.
Sure, season's young. We, like I said, we had a little bit of a slow start, but we're kind of picking up a little bit of momentum here. So it's the season's young. We have a lot of races to go, and we're looking forward to get into the heart of the season where we get a lot of racing, 3-4 nights a week, and get back to it. So thank you all for having me on your show. I look forward to talking to you again, and yeah, talk to you again soon.
Hope so. Come back. Okay.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Logan.